We're off.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
And here we are.
And here we are. Yeah. Good morning again. Yeah.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I appreciate that. Yeah, we have another great day, and we're pulling another artist from our database. I guess we'll call it, from Artists in Canada. I appreciate being able to talk to all of our members from across Canada. Today we're heading to the mountains. We're going to be talking to Jacqueline Inez. If you want to see a strong portfolios, a strong way of showing your work, and it's to a point, if you saw enough of her work, she wouldn't even need to put her name on the work. You'd start recognizing her work as to what it is. It doesn't seem to matter what she paints, but she's mostly painting animal portraits and some wildlife animal portraits, as well as domestic. And she's traveled immensely, I guess, as a child. We'll get her to talk about her art journey a little bit when we bring her on, but she's been studied in museum and art gallery management, and I think some of that has given her some expertise that it comes out in her work and how she shows and what she does. She's a lover of traveling, and she's settled down for the winter and is in her studio painting, and that's where she's going to join us from today. It's from her studio and in Jasper, Alberta. Here we go.
Okay, well, let's bring Jacqueline on.
Jacqueline in. Yeah.
There you go. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
It looks a lot warmer in the studio. It's just nice and warm and cozy.
Yeah, it's actually getting a little too warm. It's Jasper's been warmer than most winters, so
Right.
not complaining. But
I'm on the prairies.
Well, I'll leave you guys to do the rest of the show, and I hope you enjoy your journey on Canadian art today. See you.
Lovely. Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.
You. Well, good morning. A little earlier where you are, and it's a little frigid here on the prairie still, but
Yeah.
it's good to hear. Is there a lot of snowpack in Jasper right now? Snow base?
No, there really isn't. We haven't. So as you mentioned, I'd been traveling for November and December in Australia, and when we got back, we were expecting quite the snowfall, and we actually haven't had snow, and we got back January 3rd, so a little bit on the ground, but nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing to write home about.
No, they need the base of snow for the melt in the spring, for everybody else to have the water in the rivers and the lakes and things. So hopefully you get some base, and it's still early in the winter yet, so maybe you get that.
I mean, I've been here 7 years, and typically what we're told is there's always a false spring, second false spring, and then sometimes a third, but it always comes back. So yeah. I'm sure we'll see something.
No, it's enjoyable. It seems like a beautiful place to paint and be inspired by nature, and the walks and the wildlife that, wildlife that just walk through Jasper, the town of Jasper, on the main street. The bear.
Yeah, luckily, what I paint is a lot of the predators. That sounds kind of funny. So not too many of those walking around, luckily, but elk and deer and all the nice, kind animals walk through the property.
The ones that eat all your vegetation in your yard.
Yeah.
Well, get down to business here. Can you tell us? Okay, let's just back up. Let's start with your art journey a little bit, kind of where you started, and let's get rolling here, where we can see some of your work.
Yeah. So a little bit about how I got started. It's not a straight line, and it rarely ever is. But I've been drawing, painting, crafting probably since I could hold a pencil or a glue gun or a pair of scissors. So ever since I was very little, and I grew up with a mother who really nurtured my artistic ability. She was definitely the artistic one. So her mother, my maternal grandmother, was an artist by trade. My mother's middle sister, artist by trade, and her youngest sister also very artistic. My mother was always more crafty, so she liked painting pottery. She liked, our Halloween costumes were always amazing. So I learned things from her, decorating, building things, and the use of textiles. So always got coloring books, little arts and crafts things growing up. And then I never really took it too seriously. It was always just a hobby. But I always knew that it was something that drew my attention. So any free time I had, doesn't matter the age where I was, I always had a sketchbook on me. I took, I think in my life, one art course, and we sat downtown Guelph, which is my hometown in Ontario.
Yeah.
And we sketched people walking by, and that was the first and last art class I took because I was sketching people and I went, oh, this is boring. I can do this by myself. I do this anyway. So never went back to an art class. But as I got older, always kind of doodled, painted, sketched, really honed my own skills in my free time. And it wasn't until university that I started painting in my free time. This is when I university in Toronto. And I was actually studying European history. So European history, art gallery, and museum curation and management. And juggling a full course load, a varsity soccer schedule, 2 part-time jobs. What do you do in your free time? It's the thing you love the most. So I would always turn to art. After creating a few pieces, I actually approached the art program, and they were having a show for first-year students. And I asked if I could go in and or submit my work, and they said, well, who are you? You're not in any of our courses. What are you doing? And I said, well, I'm in history, but what I love is art. And one day I painted, I've always loved the Statue of David. So, and it ties with my historical education. I painted the Statue of David's face, probably just about this much. And then I sketched him. And then I did a digital photoshopped image, and I printed it as a poster. So I had 3 statues of David, and it was a study of different mediums and different styles, but with the same image. So they accepted it, and it went in and it got honorable mention for the show, which was interesting. And that's kind of what told me I needed to keep doing this, keep needing to experiment, see what I can do. And then a few years later, here and there, entering a few art shows downtown Toronto, because they're almost everywhere. So doing some work, entering, kind of doing a little bit more research on kind of how to get your name out there, how to actually make being an artist viable, right? Not just as a pastime, but again, full course load, trying to graduate, doing everything like that, kind of put it to the side. And it wasn't until 2019 that I was offered a job actually at an art gallery here in Jasper. So I dropped everything in Toronto. I came out here and I said, I'll try it for a summer. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, summer went by and I said, my background's in art gallery, museum management. Let me see how I can progress and what I can learn from this gallery. And then COVID hit, which, as we all know, and all experienced. So end of 2019, early 2020, the gallery shut down. 2020 was a bit of an odd year for everyone. So of course, sitting at home, what do? You try to pass the time. So I had been experimenting with my iPad and digital art. And thinking, oh, maybe I'll do t-shirts for friends. I love graphic design. I'll make mugs, things like with my digital drawings. I don't have to invest in art supplies and canvases. Let's go digital. But then with the gallery closed and all this free time, some of these digital drawings I thought would be interesting to try on a canvas. So I'd started playing around with it. And as you'll see, kind of a sneak peek of the shapes I use here, very clean edge, almost graphic looking. I thought I would try one of these. And then 2020 was a bit of an experimentation, seeing I've never really painted before with acrylics. Let me give this a try. And then there was an end to the story at some point. But end of 2020, the gallery reopened and I came back out to Jasper. I had moved in back with my parents in Ontario just to change of scenery.
Yeah.
When I moved back to Jasper end of 2020 and got back into the gallery, nobody was traveling. So we were open, but very quiet. At the time, the owner of the gallery said, "It's so quiet. Why don't you bring a canvas into the gallery and paint? I always see you doodling and drawing. You must be able to paint." And I hadn't told her that I did. So I went, okay, let me try. So one day I brought a canvas, stood in the gallery, and I started drawing a rooster of all things. And I thought, let me make very bold shapes, see what I can do with this digital image I had. And then later that week, the two gentlemen I saw the entire week, masked up, because you had to, walked in, and they said, I bet you wouldn't let me paint on your canvas. And I went, I'll take that bet. Here's my paintbrush. I had no emotional tie to this canvas. It was an experiment. So the gentleman with a shaky hand comes up to the canvas and puts a dab on the canvas, and his friend's taking pictures of him. And I said, well, now it's a collaboration. When I'm done, you'll have to buy it. And he goes, here's my number. Send me a picture when it's done. So I did, and he ended up buying it.
That's awesome.
And then the
I'm
owner of the gallery.
I'm going to get David to start our first image up here, and then we can
Oh,
continue.
yeah, of course, because then I can kind of discuss it a little bit more.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, so that people can see a little bit of the style that we're talking about here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is actually, I wish I had actually contributed the first ever piece I did, because they look very different. Didn't have any of these more organic shapes. They were very blocky, and I was still kind of figuring out the style. But yeah, this gentleman asked to buy the piece. The owner of the gallery shows up a few days later with a bottle of champagne, and she shakes my hand. She goes, "Welcome, you're one of our artists." And the rest is history. That was end of 2020. So yeah,
Amazing.
Good 6 years now, and just developing the style, changing it a little bit in the shapes that I use, the color palette, and definitely getting more confident with how I approach each piece. Yeah. And this is probably a piece from 2024 or early 2025. And this is kind of where the style is now. So, and ever evolving.
Yeah. So they're like portraits, really, if you this animal is different than a mate that it would have or something. Like, they have a look to them. I've been looking at the style for the last week or two as we were preparing for this show, and it feels like the light is coming from within, like they're illuminated from within the character. And I was trying to figure out what is the difference between these ones and some other ones I've seen that are, kind of streamlined figures, and they're trying to find an iconic look to an image.
Yeah.
And what is unique about this one is this is not just surface paint. It feels like there's an illumination from the underside of the hair, and even though they're very piece-like pieces that are carefully placed in, and they do kind of feel digital, but they're all hand painted. They're all hand painted pieces, and it's this illumination that gives a life to it that I get it. I mean, it's hard edged, and it is in your face kind of portraiture, which is bold and strong, but the palette and the colors are lovely. And I mean, we can talk about how do you develop these palettes? I guess you work in a just squeeze tubes out on your palette and work, or do you have like pots of paint that are kind of pre-mixed a little bit and tone them? Is that kind of how you work with them? Or?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I had started at one point when I was painting thinking, oh, I'll just get every color of the rainbow. And I think I don't want to say easier to do this because there is a lot of work when you have the colors right in front of you still, and some artists do this. But I thought I'd have every color of the rainbow, and I could just squeeze it out and say, this painting will look harmonious, and the color palette will work together. But then I did some paintings like that, and I found that from each tube of paint, the greens were, as they were meant to be, very different. The blues varied a lot, right? So every time I used them, it just looked like I had no plan and it was patchwork. So what I decided to do was I have, at any given time, where's my primary colors, white, black, maybe secondary colors. So maybe an orange I like, or maybe a green that I like. Sometimes purple, just because you can only mix them so much with the types of reds and blues you have. It really depends. But I don't venture outside of that. The odd time I actually did a bear for Pride, the Pride Festival here, and they asked for a rainbow bear. So I went and bought every color you could on the rainbow. And the bear was literally nose to ears, and neck was the rainbow. So that was a specific request. But what I like to do is I'll actually start with my dark, so all the dark shapes, and then I'll kind of build the light from there. And that way, like you see with this piece here, under the jaw, the neck where the shading is hitting, the light source coming from the left-hand side. But I'll start with the darkest colors. And typically I'll have a dark version. Let's use blue. A dark blue, I'll have kind of a medium tone blue, and then I'll have my light blue, which is where you see the highlights on the ends of each shape. Yeah. And then what I'll do is I'll add the dark into one of the shapes, and then the light on the tip, and it's just blending with a dry brush. And they're typically 2 to 3 layers on each shape. So once I'm done with that blue, kind of like a puzzle, all across the animal, I'll add, I wanted a little more green. Okay, so I'll put a little bit of green in that blue and work from the same color.
Right.
So only subtle changes are made to each color in each of the shapes. So at the end of the day, I usually only have one palette that's just been edited, touched it with like a little dab of paint just to change it. So the colors aren't changing completely. So I thought that after a few pieces, the colors looked like they were from the same family. And I think this is a great example where all of the blues look like they're just slightly different. A little lighter, a little darker, a little more green, a little more purple, you name it. So I just thought it made a more cohesive piece. Yeah,
and I think you need that when you work with so many, they're like pixelated pieces, right? And you're piecing them. It's like a mosaic or a stained glass window, pretty much the same kind of idea, because you're working with an outline somewhere, because everyone has a shape or a line that seems around it, whether it be a black, and it's nurtured into it, right? The color is blended. But if you squint and look at it, you could see there's black all around all the objects, which would be not undifferent than leading in a stained glass window. These would be beautiful stained glass windows in themselves. So you typically have a dark flat background, and then it's about the portrait. That's usually what you work with.
Yeah. Sometimes I change it. I love the dark backgrounds just because I am playing with this this technique of dark to light and really emphasizing where the highlights are coming in. And I found with dark backgrounds, just like putting it beside black now, it just makes it kind of pop forward. Yeah. Every now and then I've done white backgrounds or some lighter ones.
I've got our next shot coming up, one you haven't seen.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't seen this one in our slideshow, so.
I haven't. Oh, geez. That's funny. That's 2020. That's when, so after the first sale in the gallery, I said, I'm going to start painting horses. I've always had a fascination with horses, and I thought they don't have these shapes. So that's actually a great example of these not using these feathery shapes that I've gotten so used to using and adapting. Yeah. Horses don't have that kind of fur, so you have to be a little more strategic with the shapes. But These I actually did because I lost my grandfather back in 2007. And his wife, my grandmother, is an artist and she paints roosters. His last name was Cavallero, so this as horseman, as in translation. So I thought I would do a bit of an ode to him, and I did this Cavallero series. It's on my website.
Yeah.
So all of these horses were the first real portraits I did, and actually I think 3 are in my apartment currently and not for sale. They're the very first.
My horses look like German shepherds. I don't do horses.
You know what? They're tricky. They're tricky. I've done a few where the angle was wrong, and somebody asked if I did a deer, if it was a wolf. It's just kind of interpretation.
Yeah, learning anatomy is really important in the different animals. I mean, you're dealing with larger animals like elk and deer and moose, and some of these things, so they do carry a larger bone and body, like where you're not doing like a little squirrel. But I guess you've done some little birds, and we'll get into some of the other. I love these ones because the top horse there just feels like he's got this fire in his chest. There's an energy in that horse. He's got his tongue out a little bit, and I'm just like, wow, there's a personality in that horse. It's funny.
Yeah.
But they're all unique, and like you said, they're not this feather structure. The building up the fur and in it, like a lot of the other pieces are like the fur would be like a matted fur, like, and you can see a lot of times the bear might have something like that, or a polar bear might even have the hair mats together, and it's actually quite a coarse hair.
Yeah.
So it's quite I guess, and you've got a tree in your background that you're working on in a studio, which is completely different for you. I mean, that's a thing in itself, like the portrait. But here's your moose. I had to get this one out here. All right. We have a lot of moose lovers on the show.
Yeah, you know what?
To see the Canadian moose.
This one was actually really fun to do. His name, what was his name? They all have names. So when you spend as much time with a piece as I do, you name them. Sometimes I give them a gender. I try not to, because whoever buys it, I like them to just kind of interpret it as they do. But he was Mortimer the moose, and the naming convention with all the moose were M names, because it just rolls off the tongue. Not all the animals are that way.
Yeah.
But Mortimer the moose, there was something about it, and kids loved him. Adults loved him, and he was a bit of a tricky one because originally I had wanted to have the moose three-quarter gaze so that I could get both eyes in. And my husband actually mentioned, he goes, I'm not too keen on the ones where it's a profile of the animal because you only see one eye. And I said, but I think what's fascinating about a moose in particular is his profile.
Yeah.
Look at those antlers. Yeah. Look at that big nose and that big face.
And a nose like a shoe. He's got a nose like a shoe. He's just funny.
Exactly. And I said, if I put him three-quarters, he looks like a horse with antlers because of the perspective. And I said, let's just appreciate the very dynamic profile that they have.
Yeah.
And that's actually the gentleman who bought him said that as well. He says, like, why a moose? And I said, well, they're typically such gangly, ugly ducklings in a way, but they're so beautiful when you really look at them and their structure. So this was a bit of a celebration of the moose and their awkward look.
No, they always have that whimsical look on their face, that it's like that smile, but it's not a smile, it's the Mona Lisa of animals, the
smile. That's a good way to put it. And they're always we were driving out to Moline Lake, that's out west here, and we're stopped in the middle of the road probably for about 40 minutes while a mother and her calf are just licking salt off the road or whatever it was, dead center, and everybody's just lined up, and they said, this will just wait. And how gentle they are, how massive they are when you get really close, and they're taller than the car, but their gentle eyes and their gentle demeanor, they're just big gentle giants, unless you threaten them, of course, right? Nobody wants to do that, but
And they're seasonally with the males, you don't want to be around them. They will literally destroy your area. Like,
yeah.
I've got
When the
stories.
calves, calving
Yeah.
season, you fear the mothers, but mating season, you fear the males. So
Yeah, you don't want to be around when the males are fighting.
yeah, no,
They
definitely
they
not.
have that single vision. They don't care about anything else around them. It's just they will run through anything. They don't look both ways when they cross the road. They're
Yeah,
big. They just do it, right?
you have to look both ways. Yes,
You have to
when
do the
driving
looking.
out here. So
But a beautiful animal. There we go. We'll just go on to some of this other one. So yeah, this owl, just like wow, he has that cool look about him. He's just the feathering on him. He feels the wind has got in between the feathers, and it just opened him up a little bit. It
yeah,
just says in this style of doing the work, and I like the blue background. It just pops that him off the page.
yeah. And this one here, actually, interesting. You mentioned the blue background. This was actually a commission for a client because I had done. I think it's in the slideshow. I don't know. I can't remember. One of my first owls, and I had 3 commissions come from that original owl since, because I don't know what it is about owls. I think I think they're beautiful, and as you can probably tell after a few pieces, I love eyes. I really love the focus on the eyes, and that is actually why most of my animals are portraits or they're close up. You have to be able to see the eyes. I've tried full body animals, the eyes get lost, and then it's about the shapes in the body, and I need there to be an expression through the eyes. So owls are really good for that. But this one here was a commission, and originally I had a darker blue background to make him pop a little more. And the gentleman said it was for his wife, and her favorite color is this kind of teal blue. And I said, okay, let's put the teal background and put even more teal within the actual owl. So she did want to brighten it up a little bit. And as far as I know, she's very happy with it. So
Well, that's the thing with commissions. It's a kind of a collaboration with the client when you're doing something for them. So
yeah,
I know some artists say, nope, it's my way or the highway. And a lot of times it goes the highway. But if you want a commission to be successful, and I mean, you can use some kind of, proper demeanor, when you between you and the client, understanding they're paying money for this and they want something that they want. They understand your style and what you're going to give them, and saying, well, and you understanding that, say it was for his wife, which is maybe she wants something a little brighter or something with her personality, maybe her color. It's sometimes it's a rare request. Sometimes, I like these colors. That's not a rare one. People do that. I like these colors. Can you do something like that?
yeah.
Whether it be a landscape or whatever, but
Yeah, and well, I find I do a lot of commissions, and I think you mentioned while I do wildlife, I've done a lot of pet portraits. So I've done 1 cat, and I can't count on 2 hands how many dogs I've done, because I find that pets are like children for a lot of people. I mean, I have a puppy, so I understand, but you wouldn't always want a very serious depiction of your dog necessarily. Some do, that's okay. But I find why pet portraits have really kind of worked for me is that it's this playful, colorful, and if someone sees it, they go, oh, that's fun. It's well done, but that's fun. It's Roscoe or the dog, right? So it's a more fun take, and you can get away with getting a portrait of your dog, where some people might say, oh, it looks a little serious, it looks a little this. But I find with pets, you get very specific requests because they are part of the family, and those are very difficult. And I feel for the artists who take on very personal commissions.
It
dog
takes
portraits. Yeah,
it takes a special person to figure out that personality in an animal.
exactly.
Some people can't see what a family sees in that animal, that it's theirs. And, I mean, you can have 2 hush puppy dogs and they're both different. Like, they're just unique.
Yeah.
And so I think with a style like this, though, you can get away with a little bit more because you've taken them away from trying to do it photographically realistic. in a style.
Exactly.
You get them to step one step out of that, what they expected, right? And you give them a
Yeah.
little bit of, it steps them out a little in the in an uncontrolled way. They're saying, oh, that's a personality in a different way, and I can accept the look of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're painting exactly. You might as well just give them the brush. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. Just take a photo. I find actually a really funny story with one of the pet portraits I did was I asked, we had a brief over the phone, and I said, okay, next, we know how we want the dog positioned, rough color palette. You want it more true to life than you want psychedelic colors or rainbow, and I do plan the color palette with the client. And I said, next would be, I would love some photos. If you can do, we'll do about shoulders to top of the head, front on, some side on photos, well lit, just so I can really see all the details of the animal. And I think I got over 100 photos of the two dogs wrestling, cuddling, playing tug of war, you name it. And I just indulged the client. I went, they're very cute, and you could just see the love and just passion they had for the two dogs. And I just kept accepting the photos. I went, I'm getting the sense of their personality through these playing photos, but I can't use any of them as a reference. They're blurry, right? But it was just lovely. And every now and then with a pet portrait, I say, okay, how does this starting point look? Oh no, my dog's Romulus, so I'll use that name. So, oh no, Romulus has a birthmark right there. Oh, you missed the spot on the back of his head. And I went, I'm not painting the back of the head, but okay, noted. Kind of things like that. So it's always really fun, conversations.
Yeah. No, they do get caught up in, I guess what they maybe feel is the specifics to that animal, uniquely. So maybe it has one ear that droops down, and they want to make sure that is their dog, right? Anyway,
yeah, definitely.
Back to some birds here. I mean,
yes, I love my birds.
Yeah, this one I just love the sheen. It feels, I don't know what it feels, just the light coming from the one side, across the breast of the bird. There's a shimmer. I'll call it that for lack of words. There's a shimmer that goes around, and I think some of that even in the technique of just catching the underside of the little, and I'll call them leaves for now, or
that's right.
Just a little bit of the light, just catch the edge. Otherwise, it's just shape against shape for color.
Exactly.
A little bit of a color difference, and sometimes it's just muted a bit, which I like, and then it still has a feeling of roundness, which, and then it goes away into the dark, so it's got that's what I like about the work. And around the eyes is just this, this beautiful little shimmer. Again, a one-eye bird, it's just like that profile a bit.
Yeah, one-eye bird. This one was a bit of fun. It was actually a photo taken by a friend of mine who's a photographer, and he travels internationally to photograph. I think this collection of puffins was photographed in Newfoundland, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe incorrect on that one, but I think it was Newfoundland. And he had posted this photo on social media. And right away I screenshot it, and I sent him a text, and I said, I need to paint this bird. And he said, go for it. He said, any other ones? I have this series of polar bears coming out soon. I said, send them my way. That would be great. So you might see a polar bear coming soon. But this was the first time I'd ever done a puffin, and just looking at other photos of them, seeing how they interact, and then actually just taking a deep dive into the animal itself. And this photo really stuck out to me. He had a few other ones where there was a little more dynamic, a little more showy, beak open. And I said, no, there's something really subtle and
it's
innocent about this bird.
So looking at it the first time I didn't know really what kind of bird it was. There's an abstractness about the whole picture, other than the eye. So if the eye wasn't there, this is an abstract painting in itself. Like, it's just, you as the artist see things where the public look at it and say, defining it, just because of this abstract shapes that are all on top of each other, right? And which is a mystery, that you need that in your work to I want to come back every day and look at this piece and see something different in it or unique in it. And there's lots for visual stimulation in this piece of work. I mean,
Yeah.
just in the head part around the eyes, there's that nice little shimmer that beautiful piece. Yeah, no, it's got a
And what a question I get all the time is like, what do you call your style? What is it?
Yeah.
And I'll have to really commit to finding some way to explain it, because everybody goes, would you call it abstract? And I said, it's a form of abstraction, maybe, and maybe you can help me out with this if you've seen something similar. But it's a form of abstraction. But when you look at it, for the most part, I am trying to depict the animal that it is. So it's abstracted, but I wouldn't call it abstract necessarily. I don't know what the right word is for it. So
yeah, it's not a Picasso where you've deconstructed something and repositioned things to, you know, give somebody two noses and an eye and one eye, you know, and just say that's Dora Maar, and it's just, well, whatever, right? But as a portrait, and I don't know what, you know, maybe some of the public can come through and say, what kind of style would you actually call this? And they said it's I mean, it's a derivation of probably of a number of things, but and I don't know where I would. Well, sometimes
for another time.
I don't know if you want to pigeonhole yourself as well as far as
of course,
what I paint in this style. I mean, I think it is what it is. I mean, whether you paint it in just little lines, like a line drawing, and you did a sketchy style or a crosshatch style or whatever. It's I don't know. It has a lot of really a premeditation to it.
Yes,
so
definitely.
I like that fact. It's been really thought out well. So do you work on your computer a little bit and you work up some of the images as what it might look like and you manipulate?
Yeah. So I like to work, as I mentioned, with a friend, as an example, with a photograph, as a reference image, on my lovely iPad that I got 6 years ago. And I'll actually start with a digital drawing. And I've always been, who knows, maybe this will change, but I've always been very detail oriented. And I like planning. I like, kids, don't listen to this. It's okay to draw color outside the lines, but I've always liked being in the lines. So I thought, how can I translate that into my art, and make it something beautiful and not something that people say, oh, it looks so tight and restricted. And I went, yeah, but there's also beauty in that. And where I have more fun, I say more fun loosely, is with the colors, the color choices. Yeah. So when I design my images digitally, I've actually used the reference animal image, and using the outline of the animal, I then digitally, I'll fill in and I'll hand draw each of those little shapes within the outline of the animal, having fun with which way each of the little tails curl up or curl one way or the other. And then I'll piece it together with what colors do I possibly want. So the final image is a very flat digital, simple colors, and it looks kind of like a marker in a coloring book. It's just very flat. And then I translate it onto canvas. I hand draw it, and then I redraw. It sounds very timely when I explain it, but I hand draw each of those shapes again onto the canvas within the animal. So they don't match up, because I don't one for one match my digital image, or I would probably go crazy. But I do each of the shapes one by one. And then it's just mapping out the colors. And I do approach it kind of, I used to hate saying like a paint by numbers, but I'll say it's an elevated paint by numbers for myself, where I'll say, okay, this is where the yellows are going. This is where the dark is going. This is where the highlights are going to be. And then slowly and patiently, I blend each color one by one. Yeah. So there's a lot of attention to detail and a lot of time in each piece, but it's almost, the process of doing each shape is very meditative. And I will mention this style was born during COVID, when I had no timeline. So So it's adapted over the last 6 years because I'm working full time again. So this is kind of my, as we've chatted about, it's my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5. So
Right. Yeah.
not having anything else to do, I'm okay to sit there and just do one shape. I put music on. Sometimes I put a podcast on, and it's kind of my downtime. So I'm happy to take the time to do each piece.
Right. Yeah. No. And you are a yoga person. I can tell that. And just
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes,
there's meditative aspects to these pieces. I love this piece because it really comes out of the dark and then into the front. The kiss of blue on the lips and the snout give it that evening sense of mystery light that's in the dark. You can just see the cat just a little bit. So it's he's friendly, but he's not. You know, he's really focused on something. You know, and then
I've had this piece is actually it's quite the presence. It's 48 inches by 48 inches, or 4 feet by 4 feet. So when you walk into the gallery and you approach it, you can imagine it's taller than most children. So a little larger than life size.
Yeah.
But this big face kind of welcomes you when you walk up to it. And yeah, so I didn't want something too menacing, which I think if a mountain lion is staring at you, it's not for the better. So I did want to soften the look a little bit, and I actually found that putting more blues, and I think the eyes were originally kind of like a green yellow or a lighter color, and I actually made them a little more blue with a hint of that yellow in them because blue looked softer. So this is round 2 of the eyes, because I found those really, you know, when you have a flashlight or the car lights and you see the animal's eyes glow in the light and you go, oh my goodness, I didn't want that look with this one.
And you can just imagine if those eyes were if those eyes were orange, you can just imagine what they would be like.
Exactly. And
you
you know what? It was.
Yeah.
I had to be careful because already the piece is the line coming out of the darkness. So I went, okay, let's not scare anyone, especially with the size of the piece. So
the Halloween cougar, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want anybody.
He still has a smile on his face, and he's not quite like Lippy the lion, you know, the cartoons. So
yeah.
Beautiful animal. But I like it, you know, there's that little in and out, you know, it's not always all full front. I can look, oh yeah, I can see his tail back there a bit and the body back in the behind him there. So it's kind of there's more to discover, I guess.
Yeah.
Little guy. It's one of your parrots. I mean, parrots are very the feathering in your style is it's natural, right? It just with a bird like that, you can just have a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So where is this bird from? Did you mention that this bird is some client has this bird or similar?
Yeah. So this bird was a bit of fun to do. I was doing a lot of Rocky or Western Canadian wildlife, and I thought I just needed a bit of a break. I wanted to try my hand at something a little not something you don't see every day in Canada, flying around. Shake things up a little. So I painted this one, and as you can see with birds, what's really actually easy is when I interpret a bear and I say, oh, he's going to be very colorful. A bird already has those colors. So it looks colorful, but you look at it, you go, no, that's actually just the bird. So they're a bit of fun to play with the color palette because they already have these beautiful, these natural colors to them. So, which I'll actually mention, when I was away in Australia, I painted all of the local birds. I think, well, actually not all of them. I would be there forever. I painted all the birds in Australia, but really got into the color of the birds over there. So hopefully doing a series of Australian birds soon. But this one here, when I had finished it, I knew I couldn't put it in the gallery necessarily because it's a Canadian art gallery and it didn't really fit with all of the wildlife that was already there. So I actually approached the restaurant chain Earl's, because there's one in Jasper here. Yeah. Earl's, and I knew just from long time experience with the restaurant that this was their logo, this parrot. think it's a blue macaw. I can't remember. So I sent it to them on over Instagram, and I said, this bird would look great in your restaurant. So we got to chatting, and it is now, like I said, the rest is history. It is now hanging in the restaurant.
Excellent.
And it's a bit of a photo op spot in the restaurant, and it's hopefully something I can do more of, and reach out to some businesses and kind of do some pieces for them. They get a piece of work by a local artist, and I get some representation, which is lovely.
Yeah.
So
and you get paid. So
that too. That's always great.
Always a nice. Well, artists need to know that. How do you get something? You got to reach out and use your Instagram. Whether it be a local business, and say this might look good in your dentist office. This might look, whatever. Right? It's just you. If you don't reach out, it's not going to happen. Right? A lot of times,
and
we're not going to be able to discover you unless you step forward a bit. And I like that you said, I've got a client that might like that, and all they can do is say no. I mean, really. Said, or I'll give it to the other restaurant next door, and you can have it.
Exactly. And I think what I really like to tell, so I have a few friends who are artists, whether it's here or back home in Ontario. And I always like to share that, and even some friends who are just starting off, and they say, oh, a gallery will never take me. Or I can't paint full time and things, or what do I do? I have all these paintings because I love to paint, but they're kind of taking up space in my apartment. And I said, join art shows, do Christmas fairs, go to the people if you have to, because while galleries are great, and I had the very, very rare and fortunate opportunity that I was working with one, and it was kind of, I had the foot in the door, and someone came in and saw my original rooster. This is rooster number 2. And I had that opportunity, but there are so many artists these days. So really don't be afraid to seek out clients, go to restaurants, hotels if you need to, family and friends, word of mouth. And it's easier said than done. I know a lot. We at the gallery actually have a lot of artists who it's paint, drop it off, and then you don't hear from them because they're back in the studio. So having that representation is really good, but there are artists who don't have that. So you know what? Yeah. Leave the house, show people your work, make cards, give them away for Christmas. And what does a card end up being? 3 years later, they go, I loved this card. Let me see if that artist does paintings, because now I'm ready to buy a painting. So you never know.
You're always seeding. You are, as an artist, always seeding. A lot of times your audience is 10 years behind you, really, if you think about it, because you're moving on as an artist, and you've got this inventory that's not maybe moving with you. It's being stored, and you have to realize, I still have to move some of that inventory, but I want to move on to painting roosters, right? And but it said, I still got a polar bear over here and a bunch of other things people haven't seen. So it's nice to, talk to other friends, and, they can tell you about other, share, not necessarily client list, but there's opportunities. Say, well, did you try a restaurant? Did you try that kind of a business? Because you're trying to, I think, first of all, do great work, paint and develop your style and the way you like to paint and what you like to paint. Then you have to find the clients that might fit with. Anyway, back to the rooster.
Back to the rooster.
He's it's, the colors are, and I won't say muted, but they're neutralized, which become really accepted. I mean, if he was bright red, feathers and things, they would just be really coming off the page, which is a different kind of bird. Yeah. And these, when you come again back into this portraiture of a domestic bird, it's just, he's quite elegant. It's a chicken, it's like but
this one was funny, because this is another one that, again, you'll see that profile in very much like Mortimer the Moose. I was playing with all those textures because they have these beautiful profiles, and I think you can't really do a chicken or a rooster front on, because you lose most of the head. So it was actually the profile that was really beautiful, and capturing those tail feathers that are everything for, well, at least for most male birds, because they're all about this showy tail, and they're usually more extravagant than the females. But yeah, this one I wanted to do the muted tones because I thought of this one, I thought of the client. There was no specific client, but I thought, where would it go in the home? And sometimes I think, oh, a psychedelic bear, or a wolf, with a rainbow wolf or something. People connect with a bear or a wolf, or the very popular animals to collect. And I thought, with a rooster, if it goes into a home and you have a rooster painting, it's already a little quirky because it's a rooster painting. So I thought, let's mute the colors a little bit so it can fit into a home a little more easily. And also the colors will fit with an interior design color palette. So anything too bright or funky doesn't necessarily fit.
Well, this could be in a home that's someone who's not, say, off the farm. This could be in an urban setting, in a house, like just a normal setting. Somebody that has no rural background, and it still looks good in their home, right? That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
And they can relate to it rather than saying, "Oh, I'm a chicken farmer," or "I've come from, we used to raise chickens on the farm years ago, and there's a rooster," right? That's sort of
I'm a fanatic. Let's have one in every color kind of thing. It's like, no, it's very. But this one here was interesting. Sometimes, like, so I'll finish a painting and I'll send a photo home back to mom, and I'll say, "What do you think? I just finished this piece." And years ago, one of my first ones that I did in this kind of more muted color palette, she said, "Oh, it's an interior design color palette." And I went, "What does that mean?" And she goes, "Well, that kind of red, I could have a sofa that color. That teal, I could see the bathroom walls being that color." Like, she could use the colors. Whereas sometimes I do, this one in particular, have very bright yellow, and you wouldn't paint your walls that color. Whereas this one, you could find something in your home to use the colors for. So it's called the interior design palette. Okay, let's go with that. Summer, a little crazier, summer interior design palette.
Yeah. No, and I can see why your mom would say that. And it's very, but my grandkids had chickens for a little while, and they all have a personality. It's so funny. They're so social. Actually, they're very social. And it was just fun being around them. They're out there, and kids would be playing football, and those chickens are running around, getting run over, trying to play football with them. It's just like, it's insane.
Yeah,
anyway,
they're playing too. So
they are fun. You think they're dumb as a chicken. Well, they're not real smart. But the thing is, they are very social, and they catch on quick about how to do things. Surprisingly, if you take the time with them, and they can be a kind of a unique little pet. But here we go. We're back to our ominous cat again. This one's a little bit more serious than the previous one we saw.
Yeah.
This one is definitely focused on something.
Yeah, I note the color of the eyes, just the intensity with the eyes being that light color.
Yeah.
And they stand out more with the surrounding black, which this image is a little darker than the original. The background is actually not black.
Okay.
So, and it's actually just my photo, because I have a terrible phone to take photos of. But the background looked black, and I had a client reach out about it and say, "Oh, if only the background wasn't black." So I took the painting outside for a better 360 view, and it's just a very dark purple.
Oh, okay.
So kind of the darkest purple that's just underneath the jawline. But I actually don't use any. Well, I'll say don't use any except for, I don't use any black except for inside the ears, the nostril, and around the eyes. But other than that, there's no black in, I think, any of my paintings, just a really, really deep purple or a deep blue. Sometimes a very deep red, because I think black is just too stark, unless it's the inside of the ear and I'm not putting any detail inside of the ear hairs. But
it'll also kill your color. Black.
Yeah, exactly.
As does white. It'll kill your color.
Yeah.
Of color, but try another one here. I got to get down to the buffalo, or bisons. Yeah, these are majestic animals. They really are. I mean, he's got the beard, and they have they I guess history with our land. With Canada,
Mhm.
we're known for our bison and our buffalo, and they've been bringing them back. They're part of our environment now more than they were in the 60s and the 50s. So
Mhm.
now farmers or ranchers are raising them, but they're not so much in the wild anymore, but they're in gated communities. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
The but and they are a tourist attraction like crazy. People from Asia come to just to see them, and they think they can pet them, but they are different
No.
animals. They're not quite that forgiving, Yeah.
I know.
Anyway,
They look very huggable just because of the
yeah.
size and the fluff to them, but no, please don't.
I think we should have actually put one of these on one of our coins, on one of our Canadian coins. We should have had a buffalo or a bison on our coins, and don't for some reason they've avoided that. We have a loon on one of them, had a
Yeah.
loon. And they always put a bear on things and different things. But this is one of those majestic animals that he's beautiful. He's just, I think, just with these tawnies and browns and that he's got a nice,
Hmm.
and he is face on, got both eyes showing. So
Yeah, yeah,
any profile, he's got quite the way the neck comes out, and the beard, or the yolk from his neck dropped quite
yeah,
differently. It's quite a unique, as does that
yeah.
elephant has, but he's
And
still majestic.
what's actually a bit more challenging when you have, I'll say, animals like a bison or bear actually as well. They're very round. So when you're playing with light and dark and uh, trying to get that depth and playing with the highlights are very important. And then choosing where to put them, because realistically they're face on. You look at a bison and they kind of, the fur just blends into itself, so they just look like this big brown blob, for lack of a better way of saying it. So playing with that jawline, putting him more
Yeah.
3/4 turn. Bears are the same. When I have bears face on, they get very round, so I have to play with,
The
find its
color, the
jaw,
color,
find.
the color, yeah, the color really makes them pop.
Yeah.
Blue, even, right? I had to get to the moose here quickly before we end here.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Well,
It's
here's
Monty the
a full
moose.
moose, not just a 3/4 moose. You've got the gangly feeling, the long legs, and the big head, and
Yeah.
I mean, you look
And
at a set of moose horns; they're huge. You
yeah.
know, they are huge, and they weigh quite a bit. They're quite heavy. But he's quite a character. How big is this one?
So this one was interesting. I painted it live um, at a hotel here in Jasper, and it was 7 feet by 4 feet.
No
Seven
way.
feet. Yeah. So as you can imagine, I won't stand up, but I'm about 5'5", 5'6". So this 7-foot canvas, I actually painted when I was painting live. I was on a bit of a stage or a platform. So from the top of his ears to his underbelly is all I could reach. So I only painted that section, because otherwise I would have had to bring a ladder on the stage to paint the antlers, or I would have had to lie on my stomach to paint his hooves. So everybody said, "Why are you only painting the midsection?" I said, "It's the only thing I could reach and remain classy, so I'm not like bending over in front of everybody." But that
Yeah.
one I wanted to do because I had never done a very large piece, and I thought, if I do a full body and I still want the eye to be noticeable and I can put detail into the eye, the canvas has to be very large. So
Yeah.
it was a struggle to get into my studio, which you can't see the full size, but this behind me is a 3 by 4 foot. So you can imagine
Yeah. No, they're
the
hard to
size
get.
difference, right? So for
Well,
scale.
it's a great opportunity. So is that in the hotel in Jasper?
No, so this one is this is actually in a loving home, I think, in Quebec
Okay.
now.
Yeah. Lovely.
So yeah, he found a home.
I got to get through a couple pictures here yet. So
Oh yeah, go for it. Go.
we got your wolf. This is a wolf or a coyote? A wolf? Wolf.
Wolf, yeah.
Yeah.
Open
Yeah.
to interpretation, but I was going for a wolf, yeah.
And tough because he's face on. His nose, everything is compressing down. So you're realizing that a lot of these little shapes, they get smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all large shapes. So that gives you some of that depth that you need to in your style that you're doing. And we'll have to come up with a name for your style. I don't know. I have to put my
open to suggestions.
Yeah, well, actually, you should look at the work of David Milne from Calgary.
Okay.
And he paints sports figures, but in a broken style that's very unique. A nice, beautiful gallery type palette as well. So
okay, I'll have a look.
And a fellow member, so it's something to look at. But I'm sure he'll be enamored by what you're doing here as well, because color palettes and what you can do. And we've got to get an owl in here yet.
So that was the one that inspired 3 other commissions.
Okay, yeah,
that's it. Leopold.
He is a bit more full color than in a different color palette.
Yeah, this one was much larger as well. This was 4 feet by 3 feet. The 3 other commissions were about half the size.
Yeah.
So this one I had a lot of room to play with and a lot of shapes to play with the color. So
I had to get to him. I didn't realize I had as many slides backed up here, but oh my goodness, this guy is gorgeous. Yeah.
This is a 4 foot by 6 foot big guy. This was a commission as well. And talking about color preferences and things, the only brief was we don't want to see the painting until it's done, but my wife doesn't like purple. And I went, okay, we'll do very little purple. So there's a little bit in there, but it's very blue focused. So
no, he's warm though. He's still friendly, and he still has, I love the glow in the horn. It's not just a flat horn. It still carries your style through, but it's still that light. It's almost like the light can go through it, like it just in the transparency. Mm-hmm. And there we go, the bird and blue jay.
There's a little blue jay.
Yeah,
also a commission. So
well, this and being one a really long, narrow format on this one, like so. Is this like 2 foot by 4 foot, or is it bigger than that?
4 feet tall, yeah, and then 2 feet 2 feet wide.
Yeah,
and that was specific.
That's really a nice piece for like end of a hallway or
kind
of a nice depiction of it.
It allowed me to get the full tail feathers as well. If you start cutting them off, you just lose the bird. So
right, yeah, no, he definitely has a shimmer. There's a little bit of wind in his face. I just love that. That's what I like about it. It feels there's an action happening within a static bird. Like it's not he's sitting there not doing anything, and yet that wind will just ruffle the feathers a little bit, and you know that he's there, right? He's not just there like a carved piece of wood,
exactly. He's there. Like he's experiencing a moment in time.
Yeah. Well, we're going to bring David back in here.
Sounds good.
He's always got questions, this boy, and I think if he didn't fall asleep at the wheel, no, he's
well, I have an answer, and I have an answer to the riddle. What sort of style is it? It's absolutely beautiful style. So there you go.
Well, thank you. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Well, or they say in Dutch, ontzettend mooi, which means very, very beautiful. There you go.
Have to figure something out. Maybe
Anyway, the questions that I've come on to ask, of course, is the one that everybody wants to know. If we wanted to purchase some of your art, Jacqueline, how much would be? What sort of ballpark price range are we talking about?
Oh, that's
so I'm not going to pin. Broad... You're not pinned down to it, but to give us like between this and this. Obviously, commissions are different.
I think anywhere. Well, quote in Canadian here because it's the best I can do. We're looking at, so this is through the gallery that represents me. We're looking at, of course, it's based on size and scale of the piece, but I think anywhere from some of the smallest pieces I'll go anywhere around 2,000 Canadian to some of my largest, which are hitting about 10, and anywhere in the middle there. So if I could give a big range.
Yeah. Well, it's you were saying about going, getting yourself in front of people, which is exactly what Paul was saying. Get yourself in front of people. But one of the strange things about artists is you ask them how much they want for their art, and they get all embarrassed about it. But
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed.
Exactly.
it's
Not on this
not-
show, anyway.
No, and it's
Yeah.
not always about the amount of hours you put in. And Jacqueline puts a lot of hours into the work. I
Yeah.
mean, when you look at how work accrues in value, what it cost in 2005 and what it cost in 2025, there's always growth in somebody's work, and your work is gorgeous. I wish you well in your journey. I mean, we're with you all the way with Artists in Canada and help you show your stuff, and
Thank you.
we'll help push it out a little bit.
And and I, for one, I'd have a 7-foot red rooster. The brighter the brighter the better. Hey, it's
All right, I'll hold you to it. I'm working on it now. The bigger the better, big rooster.
the bigger the better.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's us for this week, Paul, and thank Jacqueline so much for sharing.
Yeah, Paul, David, thank you very much for having me.
Your work. Well, it's all Paul's work. I just sit here and pull the buttons.
Without Jacqueline, we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't have a show. But
no, just be you and me. Paul, that would be boring.
We might have to revisit because I'm sure we have a lot more to talk about.
Let's absolutely come back on Jacqueline. Jacqueline Part 2. That's what we want.
I'll have some trees, we'll have some trees to talk about.
Okay. Oh, we're looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Everybody have a great
Thank
day, and we will be back next week with another artist from Artists in Canada, and I guess from Canadian Art Today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everybody. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We had a few comments that come through as well. People loved your horses and your roosters and everything. So that's really great. So thank everybody contributing to the show. And until the next time on Canadian Art Today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.